What's up, not new guys? Look, so often I always say these words: process, right? Projections, right? And I don't actually get into the weeds and tell you about how to do it. So that's what this video is going to be. I'm going to walk you a little bit through my NFL process so you can help, start forming your own process. Do I want you to copy mine? No, I don't. I want you to form your own process. I want you to tweak it. I want you to constantly be reevaluating and see what works for you. Because I don't want to be those tout sizes like, here's your picks and plays, because those are the two wrong P's. The right P should be looking at projections and having your own process. That is the key to being sustainable at DFS. I'm not even going to say winning, because it is very hard to win at DFS. It involves some luck and a very good process if you're ever going to win at DFS. The key is to have this be sustainable long enough that you can hit that big win. That is my goal, and that is what I like to think separates me from the tout sides, okay? So that's what this video is going to be about. If that sounds interesting, well, hang around, brother. If you didn't know, I did a video with Sia yesterday over on the ESPN. What the fuck am I talking about? Over on the YouTube, okay? Why did I say ESPN? I think because I literally saw that right there on Ron Burgundy's cup. I saw SNN. I don't know. That was weird. So a really good show. We just kind of introduced this week 1 slate. So go check that out. It's a pretty good video. And if you leave a comment over there, I'm giving away those $500 tickets, okay? So go do that. So let's get to my process here, and I'm gonna a lot of you might be noobs, and so I'm gonna really break down some super basic terms. So if you're like, why are you saying those words? Like, I know that stuff, because not everybody's fucking as smart as you or as experienced, so chill out and let me just talk to everybody. Some of you are advanced and just need to polish up your process. Some of you have never even built a process and don't even know what that means. So I'm gonna try to make this video appeal to everybody. So here's some of my process rules that I'll be following this year, okay? I think, I'm actually going to jump all the way down, and I'm going to start on number 10. Fucking order, okay? I'm going to start on number 10, okay? To me, it really comes down to contest selection in NFL. All right. First thing I want to say about contest selection in NFL, you're a spoiled motherfather. I wish the PGA had contest selections like this, because they are unbelievably good contests, right? No matter what you're looking for, 20 maxes, 10 maxes, 3 maxes, single entries, flat payout structures, lotteries, whatever you want, they have everything in NFL. It is the best. Okay, so when it comes to contest selection at NFL, there is no excuse to not be in good structured contests. And surely you know by now what I'm looking for in good structured contests. Generally, here are my holy grail rules. Okay. First of all, I love when only about 10% of the entire payout structure is going to first, right? So I'm trying to find a good example. I think the $100 single entry is a pretty good one. Let me go find the $100 single entry. Is this it? Let's see. Single entry. Boom. Here's a really great example of a great payout structure, okay? $50,000 prize pool, $5,000 to first. So that's 10% to first. Love it, right? Absolutely love it. That is a great start to this payout structure. Number 2, I want second place to be at least half of first. And you can see this one is 80% of first. What a great fucking structure, right? No multi-entry. Yeah, this is a single entry. Okay. And lastly, is 10th place 1/10 of it? It's actually even better than 1/10, right? It's almost 1/7 or 1/6 of it, right? What would that be? 6.66. So that is a tremendous payout structure. Why do you want to do this? Because when you hit a good lineup that finishes in the top 10, you still want to get those good paydays, right? So those are the contests that I'm looking at. Here's the other big thing I focus on. My rule this year is when I am selecting my contests, you want to know a little fact? I've won literally probably about 100 GPPs in my life. I have never won a GPP with over 50,000 people in it, ever. Part of that is mathematically it's just very difficult to do that. And second of all, and the more important reason, I just don't fucking play in them. And a great mathematician once said, when you don't play in a contest, it's pretty hard to win it. In NFL, here's what I have learned. Much like PGA, I am really good at building really good lineups, but I am never, ever building a nut lineup, something that it would take to beat 1 million people or 300,000 people. I just don't build those type of lineups. So if I'm never going to build that type of lineup, why even play in those fucking contests? And the answer is simple. I won't. So my rule this year is I'm only playing in contests at NFL that are 5,000 entrants or less, right? So when I go over here and I see week 1 and I sort, like where's a good example? Like this big lottery right here, $5. I mean, I have a free ticket, so of course I'm going to toss my free ticket in it, but I'm just going to copy one of my other lineups, right? Basically just doing it because it's free. But see, this has over 1 million entrants in it. Not a chance I'm playing in that, right? This one right here, the big $100, yeah, I'm going to be doing some giveaways in it, but my personal money that I would be playing for just myself will never be in this contest with 28,000 people and such a disgusting payout structure. So literally the biggest contest you're going to see me playing in is this Power Sweep, which is a 3 max 150. I love this contest. As you can see, first place is only about 17% of the prize pool. Second place is half of that, and 10th place is 125th. I'm okay with that payout structure, right? So that is how I'm selecting my contest. Never more than 5,000 people, which if you go back, you can see that no more than 5K entries, that's number 10, is part of my process. I'm just not going to do it. I'm going to be steadfast in it, okay? Even if I hit a big one. Let's say I get lucky, I hit $100,000 this year. I'm not going to change what contest I play in. I'm going to play in those contests. I'm going to play in those contests because when you play in contests with less than 5,000 people, you give yourself a chance to hit one real big one, right? And as you can see, number 11, I am playing for one big hit this year, okay? Now, I'm going to walk you through the math of what I'm playing every week and why I'm playing them, okay? Here is going to be my basic structure for the year. Every Sunday, I'm going to play the three 153 maxes, okay? So you can see 3 lineups, $150, that's $450, and then there's 3 of those bad boys, right? If you go search, you can see there's the powers. I think they're all called the Power Sweep, right? There's just 3 different sizes of the Power Sweep. I love that Power Sweep. I love 3 maxes. It's something where I find that the chalk pools, so my contrarian stacks seem to get there. They have great payout structures, and most importantly, they don't have too many entrants, and the prizes are huge. So that is just kind of a sweet spot for me, right? I really like these. I'm also going to play in that $100 single entry that I just showed you. I think it's a great contest. And then there's this one that I just absolutely love called it's a $40 10 max, right? Which I think is probably highly influenced by my 18 max $10 that they started doing for PGA because it was not around last year and it is a bomb ass contest. Look at this bad boy. $40, max entries 10. So I can max it, right? Because any contest I play, I'm always going to max. Okay, that's another reason I don't want to play in those big contests because I got to put 150 in them. I don't want to build a fucking 150 lineups. So this one, only 10% to first. Second place is 60% of first, and 10th place is 1/10. I mean, that's just the nuts. That is such a good contest. So you can see every Sunday I'm going to be playing exactly $1,850. Plus, I like to build 20 lineups, and this equals exactly 20 lineups. 3, 3, 3, 1, and 10. That is 20 lineups. That's how many I like to build. No more, no less. Okay. For Showdown, we'll get to this in a second, but at Showdown and at Main Slate at NFL, there's just not as big of an edge. Okay, fuck it. I'm going to it now. I don't place limits on myself at college football or at PGA, but I do at NFL. And the reason is simple. NFL is fun. NFL you can win at. NFL has great contests. NFL has a great sweat on Sunday. But here's the fact. NFL is the sharpest DFS sport out there. It is the sport that is much more predictable, much more projectable, and has so much sharp content out there that you're not gaining an edge. Really, your only edge is to play the leverage game and hope that you can have a good process in place that you can hit that one big one a year, right? You are not going to grind out a profit at NFL every year. That's why I don't even play cash. The cash game is too sharp at NFL. Winning 50, you're going to win 53% of the time to even break even to cover the rake. I would rather just use it in sports where there's a bigger edge like PGA and college football. That's why at those sports where I think there's a much bigger edge, I never place limits on myself. But at NFL, I am going into this season saying I am only willing to risk $40,000 this year, which some people would say is a lot of money, but when you compare it to how much I play at NFL and PGA, it's actually relatively small, right? And I don't have that small dick ego, right? I don't have to be like, I play all this money at this. I know who I am. I know what I enjoy playing, and I know if I didn't get a single dollar back, I am okay losing $40,000 this year at NFL. Now, we all know that even if I have a down year, I'll at least get a good chunk of that back with min cashes and stuff like that, right? Even if I just have a medium hit, I could probably get a big chunk of that back, right? So every Sunday night, Monday night, and Thursday night football slate, I don't like the big MMEs. I don't like the lottery, so I'm going to play in the $100, the $50, and the $15 single entry for each of those. I usually like to build my narrative, whatever that is. It's usually a contrarian narrative that like Duke's going to beat Clemson if you watch that. And I like to build, and I like to have 3 versions of that, right? So if that plays out, I have 3 chances to win a GPP. So you can see each of those, I'm going to be doing 165 on each of those slates. That's how much I'll be playing each of those slates. So each week, let me move my big fucking dome. You can see I'm going to play $2,345. I'm going to play the first 17 weeks of the year. I'm not playing week 18. I think week 18 is a shit show, and I'm not going to play it. So when you factor that out, you multiply it times 17, I'm going to play $39,865. Not a penny more, not a penny less. If I hit $100,000, I ain't going to change which contest I play in. If I lose the first 6 weeks, I'm not going to start panicking and not playing contests. I'm going to have my process and trust it. I have 6 years of playing NFL for a full season now. 3 of those years I was a winning player. 2 years I was basically break even, just a little down, and 1 year I had a losing season. So this is not a sport where year in, year out I'm winning, and this is why I place those limits on myself, because having expectations is important, right? And to me, risking $40,000 with the upside of maybe giving myself some multiple chances at hitting 6 figures, that is worth it to me, right? So that is what I'm playing and where I'm playing. And if I'm being honest, I doubt I'll play much playoffs either, right? Because that's when PGA gets here, and I tend to slow down when PGA gets here because I'd rather just be putting my money in PGA where I think there's more of an advantage, especially at Showdown, right? So that is my process. I might make a special rule for Thanksgiving, maybe toss a couple lineups in there, but generally speaking, this is going to be my week in, week out process. I'm not going to put more than $40,000 in this. Okay, so that is part of having a process. It's kind of mapping out how much you want to play each week, which contest you want to play in, and why you want to play in them, right? And for me, the answer is simple. They have great payout structures. It allows me to get to 20 lineups, and they are in contests that aren't so big that I could never win them. You can win the 3 Max 150 with a really good lineup. You don't have to have the nuts lineup. If you have a great lineup, you'll almost assuredly win it, right? So there you go. That is the intro to my some of my process, okay? Now I'm going to walk you through a lot of these other ones. For my 20 lineups every week, I am only ever going to run at max 2 stacks, okay? New guy, if you want to know what a stack is what I think all NFL lineups should begin around, right? Every lineup you should begin with, who is my stack? An NFL correlation is infinitely more important than it is at college football, okay? Because so few games shoot out in the NFL. So few games have high play totals. So I'm always looking to try to get correlation in my lineup where I can, okay? And the first one is a stack. A stack is when you have a quarterback and at least one of his pass catchers with him. That's called a stack, because if he throws a touchdown to that wide receiver or to that tight end or to that running back, not only are you getting the quarterback yards and the quarterback touchdown, you're also getting the receiving the yards, you're getting the catch itself, and you're getting the touchdown. Those are double points. Obviously, double points do us good. So stacking is essential, and it is something I will always do. But in the past, when I've built 20 lineups, I was always doing 4 stacks. And when you do 4 stacks, here's the problem with that, right? Now you're doing 4 stacks, and you only have 5 lineups. So let's say I'm doing Burrow, Herbert, Mahomes, and Josh Allen as my 4 stacks. And one of those guys, Patrick Mahomes, breaks the slate, right? But when you only have 5 Mahomes lineups, what are the chances that you're going to get the right guys? You got to think about this. You got to stack him with the right guys, right? You got to probably find the 2 guys that had big games for him, right? So you got to have that. And then you have to have the proper run back. And then you need all your peripheral pieces from other games to also hit if you're serious about winning a GPP. So even though I hit the nut stack with Patrick Mahomes, I didn't have enough versions of that lineup to really give me a chance to win a GPP. So what I am doing this year is when I build my 20 lineups, at most I'm running 2 stacks, and sometimes I'll only run 1 stack. I will do all 20 lineups of a quarterback if I really like them, right? So that is a big thing. And why am I doing that? Because first of all, let's say I'm running a Joe Burrow stack. I want to have some Burrow and Joe Mixon and T. Higgins together. I want to have some Burrow, Joe Mixon, and Jamar Chase together. I want to have some Burrow, Boyd, and Chase together, right? And then not only do I want to have those multiple versions of the primary stack, but I also want to have at least one run back from that game. Because if Joe Burrow is going to have a good game, it's almost certain that it's going to be a higher scoring game, and somebody from the other team is likely pushing them. We call this a run back. Often, it's going to be, like they're playing the Browns week 1. So for me, guys that would instantly jump out as really good run back options would be somebody like Nick Chubb. If Nick Chubb busts a long touchdown run, that's going to push the pace of the game. If he catches a screen and takes it to the house, that's going to push the pace of the game and continue to make Burrow and the Bengals have to push. Maybe Amari Cooper. Maybe you think he catches a bomb or 2. Well, that would be great, because now if Amari Cooper scores, not only am I getting those Amari Cooper points, but that is also pushing the Bengals to continue to push the pace of the game, be aggressive on offense, which will then lead to more points for Burrow, Chase, or whoever is scoring the points, right? So that is how I like to do it. And I'm only going to do 1 to 2 stacks because I need to have as many combinations. If Burrow does break the slate, he is the nut quarterback. I don't want to have 5 lineups with Burrow. I want to have 10. So now I have more chances to hit the right run back. I have more chances to have him have 2 guys stacked with him that also hit, right? And if I do hit that, I need to make sure that I'm giving room for my peripheral pieces, my extra wide receivers from other games, tight ends from other games to also go off. So is that a very aggressive thing? Yes, it is. This is my process. And when you're only trying to hit once a year, well, really, you want to really condense down your player pool and you want to really shit or get off the pot when it comes to your stacks. So never will you see me in my 20 lineups play more than 2 stacks. In some weeks, I'll only play 1, okay? We already talked about a run back. A run back is just a guy from the other team. I will always have a run back for my stack, and here's my logic. If my stack is going to go off, they are going to need to get pushed, right? If they're going to win a game 28-3, well, they were never pushed, and they were probably running the ball the whole second half anyways, right? So I'm always going to have a run back. Who is somebody from the opposite team, opposite of my stack, that can push the pace of the game, that can have a good game, because them having a good game correlates to my stack now having to pass more, now having to play faster, now having to score more points. So we'll always have a run back against my stack. I don't always love 2 run backs, but I will always have at least 1 run back against my stacks, okay? From there, my stacks will tend to be lower owned. Now, this first week, I love Justin Herbert, right? And it's going to be really hard to have him not be one of my stacks. But here's the thing about stacks is if you play the same stack that everybody else hits, you're not really gaining any leverage. And if I'm really trying to win 1 GPP a year, the nut stack is going to be when you can get a quarterback at like 5% owned or less. That's what I call my sneaky stacks, because when they hit, I don't have to share those points with hundreds or maybe thousands of people. I only am sharing them with maybe a few dozen people or less than 100, right? And if that's the case, if my stack hits and it is the sneaky stack, maybe you think, Kenny Pickett could be a sneaky stack. Those are what I'm going to lean towards. Now, occasionally I will play a chalky stack, like I've already referenced with the Justin Herbert, because I'm playing them in 50% of my lineups, or maybe I just go only Justin Herbert this week, play 100% of them, and then get different elsewhere. But overall, I will lean towards playing sneakier stacks. And by sneaky stacks, I mean a quarterback projected at 5% or lower, usually with some receiving options that are also projected low, okay? And when the nice thing about doing a sneaky stack is, A, they usually tend to save you money, right? Because the sneakier stacks are usually the cheaper quarterbacks, so you can spend up elsewhere. And the other thing is it allows you to play the chalk at other positions, right? So say you're just so scared about that, Justin Jefferson this week, you got to eat that chalk. Well, if you play a sneaky stack, you can go eat the Justin Jefferson chalk. By the way, new guy, chalk is just highly owned guy. And because you're eating, you're eating that Justin Jefferson chalk, you're fine because your primary stack is so much different than what everybody else is playing. It is okay that you're sharing those Justin Jefferson points with maybe 25% of the field. Okay. From there, I am a big fan of correlation. Correlation in NFL is so much more important to me than it is at college football. We've already talked about the importance of a stack. We've already talked about the importance of having a run back against that stack. But let's talk about this. I almost will always have a secondary correlation in my game. So let's say that I'm stacking. My main stack is Joe Burrow and 2 of his pass catchers, and I'm running it back with Amari Cooper. Well, then I will also have a secondary stack, right? Like say I like, Green Bay and Minnesota, right? And so I go into that game and I go grab a mini correlation, thinking that game could also shoot out. So go give me Christian Watson and Jordan Addison, right? Or Alexander Madison. 2 guys from opposite teams that are in the same game playing each other that I think that game could have some good pace to it, could pick up. And if Madison runs for 2 touchdowns, that increases the likelihood that Christian Watson is now going to get more passes, as they are likely, the Packers are likely playing from behind. I call that, that is called a correlation play, right? That it's also stacks or correlation, but I try to get a secondary correlation into almost all of my lineups, right? So if I'm going to have Justin Herbert as my main stack, well, then maybe I go grab a Joe Mixon and then correlate him with Amari Cooper, right? That is an example of a secondary correlation in my lineups, right? I love to do that because there's so few games in the NFL do you get extra plays, do you get extra points, that having access to those games can literally be the difference between 15-20% higher points per game, just because they run more plays, right? The more plays a team runs, the more chances there are for your guys to get points, and the more points that get scored, the more it pushes the pace for the other team to score. This is why correlation is imperative. If you're making your lineup and it's just 9 fucking random guys from 9 teams, you're literally already dead. Maybe you'll win, But you could also just win playing the lottery, because that's what you're doing. When you do correlation, you are now saying if this guy does well, it is likely that this guy will also do well. And the more that correlation you can have, the less luck that it takes, right? Now you just need to be right about 2 games. Your primary stack in that run back, and then your secondary correlation, and now you have something like 5-6 pieces of your 9-person lineup correlated to just 2 games shooting out. 2 games shooting out is a lot better than trying to go beep, 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 and hit all 9 guys. So that is why I really focus on correlation in my lineups, okay? Not only does it lead to not having to be as lucky, but it also leads to, if I get those 2 games right, there's a better chance my guys will break the slate. And let's face it, to win GPPs, you need guys who break the slates. Stack one-offs that I love, all right? A one-off is this. A one-off is a guy that you're playing that's just, you're not playing any correlation from that game. It's just a one-off piece. So a good example for week 1 might be a guy like Davante Adams. I think Davante Adams is one of those guys that scores 40 points every week, or he scores 5 points every week, right? He's the ultimate slate breaker or blows up in your face guy. He's pretty highly priced, and he's going to be lower owned. He has the new quarterback, Jimmy Garoppolo, and nobody's going to want to play him. So maybe I will make my stand. I haven't decided. I'm still got to go through my player pool, but maybe a guy like Davante Adams is the one-off guy that I'm going to get a ton of access to. So if he is that one-off piece, he can break the slate, not just for that one lineup, but for a lot of them, right? So I love to really be aggressive. I'm talking over 50% of my lineups will probably contain some one-off that I love. Maybe I love Ramondre Stevenson this week, which I don't, but let's just say I did. Well, that's a guy I'm going to get in at least 50% of my lineups. I don't want any other Patriots, nor do I want the run back against the Patriots. I just want him as a one-off, right? Just a single piece from that game. I like how he shapes up in that game, right? Or the Davante Adams, or whoever you want to use. I will always have a one-off piece that I play a lot of, okay? I really make my stand on my one-off. And by doing that, it's almost like I'm giving my lineup some correlation. Even though he's a one-off and he's not correlated to anybody else in that game, he is still correlated to my success of my lineups as I've played him. It's such a very high amount in my lineups, right? So I'm even though he's not correlated, he is correlated. I hope that makes sense. For me, I don't play afternoon slate. You saw here on this, there was no afternoon slate. I'm not doing it. And you say, well, hey, man, afternoon's got good slates. I agree. If you want to play afternoon, you let that be part of your process. It is not part of my process because I build all my lineups with late swap in mind. If you don't know, late swap is in NFL. This isn't like PGA, new guy. In the NFL, after the lock, as long as those guys play the later games, the afternoon games, you can still go flip them even as the contest has started. That's called late swap, right? And this is a mega advantage if you're willing to babysit your lineups. I've already used it at college football to save my cheddar more than once, right? You got to have a plan in place for late swapping, okay? Every time I build a lineup, I say, all right, if this lineup gets off to a good start, I'll leave those 2 guys in there. But if it gets off to a bad start, I'm going to take this flex out and I'm going to switch it to this guy, right? I'm going to go from Justin Jefferson to Davante Adams because of the ownership leverage or something like that, right? So I always have a late swap plan. And because I'm late swapping in the afternoon, I feel like I already am playing afternoon, right? I'm still playing the game because I still have my main slate lineups that are still going to be live in the afternoon, and I'm still late swapping, and I don't want to spend my time building afternoon lineups. I want to use that time late swapping my main lineups, okay? So every time I build a lineup, I have late swap in mind, and that's why I don't play afternoon, because I feel like I am playing the afternoon by late swapping my main contest lineups, right? So that is my process. Once again, if you love afternoon and you've had success at it, well, then play afternoon, brosif. I get it. I totally get it, man. As I said just a minute ago, make sure you have a late swap plan. Don't go put somebody in your flex that's $3,000 and then you need to move him out in the afternoon, because if you do that, well, then who the fuck are you going to put in for him? There's not going to be any other good $3,000 options, right? So if you put a $3,000 guy in your lineup, you better have another guy in the afternoon who's probably more expensive, right? So say you put him in there and you also put Jamar Chase or something, okay? So you have that $3,000 option, $8,400 option, and now shit's not going well for you, and you have got to get different. Well, what you can do is, because you have those 2 guys in there and they cost a lot of money, that will give you a lot more options. Maybe you go switch to some punt wide receiver. Maybe you go switch to Hunter Renfrow and whoever, right? And that could be what you have to do to try to sneak out a min cash, because a lot of times you'll have a running back get hurt in the first game, or your stack doesn't get there. At that point, you're never going to cash, so you might as well just try to go find some random guy at 1% owned who gets 40 points and maybe tries to save you a min cash. Does that make sense? So always have a late swap plan. If you build a lineup and the only guy you have in there that's an afternoon guy is a $3,000 guy, well, just know you're leaving yourself no flexibility. You basically are going to be stuck with that guy. Whether you get off to a good start in the morning or a bad start, you're going to be stuck with that guy because what other $3,000 receiver are you going to be able to switch to? There's not going to be any viable options, right? So be aware of when you construct your lineups that you want to give yourself some freedom and some flexibility in the afternoon to make multiple switches, right? Have a plan in place for your late swap. That is a big part of my process, and it's something that I think you should consider for yours. The next one, a limited player pool. We've already kind of touched on this, right? Well, I've already told you at quarterback, at most I'm running 2 stacks, right? Let's get on the right slate here. Let's go to the 13-game slate. Let's go to default, and go make your 2 stacks. Jalen Hurts and Justin Fields, whoever you like, right? At running back, I think you don't want to get carried away, right? I think the place to really make your stands is at quarterback and at running back. If you want to spray a little bit, I think the best place to spray is at wide receiver. Okay, for me, this is my process. This is all I know. Okay, at quarterback, I'm only running 2. At running back, for 20 lineups, I will never have more than 6 running backs. Sometimes I'll have as few as 4. I'm really going to shit or get off the pot at running back because it's just not a position I want to punt at. The position that I want to punt at is wide receiver. Why do I want to punt at wide receiver? Because wide receiver is such a higher variance position than running back is, right? You can project how many targets somebody's going to get, but you never know when the cornerback's going to fall over and now that guy runs and gets the touchdown, right? Or you never know when he's going to have a 50-yard touchdown pass that should have been a touchdown, but now there was pass interference. You don't get that, right? So there's just so much more variance involved at receiver that I like to spread it out a little bit more at receiver. But at quarterback, running back, and at tight end, I typically play a very few people at those. My tight end, I almost always want correlated to my quarterbacks or as a punt option, right? That's typically how I like to play my tight ends. So I'm playing very, very tight player pool at quarterback, running back, tight end, and I tend to spray a bit more at wide receiver because of the volatility of that position, okay? Also, as far as the flex goes, I am open to either a wide receiver or a running back there. I never play tight ends in the flex. They typically just don't have the high enough upside to really win you a GPP. So my tight ends, running backs, quarterbacks tend to be very, very select tight player pools. Wide receiver, I spray a little bit more. And flex, I am open to a running back or a wide receiver there, okay? Back over to my rules. So from there, that's what the limited player pool is. I also am going to be using the solver. I will not build a single lineup this year. I will go put all my rules into the solver, all the things that I want. I want at least my quarterback to have at least 2 guys stacked with him, at least 1 run back. I want a secondary correlation from these 2 teams. I'll find games that I like. So maybe, my primary stack is Joe Burrow, right? But I really want some action in this Indianapolis-Jacksonville game. So I'll go make a rule that says that I want at least 1 correlation piece. Every time you play somebody from this game, you got to play somebody from the opposite side, right? Or I really think that, this Carolina-Atlanta game could be sneaky. So I'm going to make a rule that says anytime you play somebody from this game, I want a correlated piece from it. Right? And then what I'm going to do is I'm going to go find my favorite one-off piece. Let's say my favorite one-off piece this week is, we'll just keep using Davante Adams as an example. Well, I'm going to make a rule that he needs to be in at least 50% of my lineups, right? I'm really going to make a stand on a one-off piece. That is part of my process. It doesn't need to be part of yours. I'm just walking you through my process so you can kind of take as much as you want or as little as you want or tweak it and make it your own. Because having your own process is the only way. Don't copy someone else's process. Make your process. So I'll be using the solver to make my lineups. I'm not going to be hand building. A, it saves me time, and B, and this is the more important point, it takes out my bias. Okay? It makes sure that I'm not building the same lineup over and over and over, or I'm getting too exposed to certain guys, or that I'm building it with a certain bias in my head that I don't even see. All right? From there, we already talked about the 5K entries. I'm not playing anything that has more than 5,000 spots in it. Okay? That's just going to be my rule this year. Maybe you like the lotteries. Maybe you're good at building those icky fucking lineups that can beat 300,000 people. I'm not good at it. I've never done it. I'm never going to do it because I'll never play in them. I'm playing for one big hit, right? $40,000, and I think that there is probably at least somewhere around the neighborhood of a 20% chance that I will hit a lineup that will probably be at or above that number, right? Which isn't great, but I think there's about a 1 in 5 chance based off my history of NFL. I will. You're like, oh, so 80% chance you're going to lose this year? No, only 80% chance I'm not going to hit a monster. okay, that breaks the year for me, right? So, but that doesn't mean I can't hit some 5,000s, a 10,000, a couple 3,000, stuff like that, because those add up too. As many slates as I'm playing, if I can get back to 40,000 without hitting a monster, but I'm really just playing to hit that one monster. That is how I'm going into the season attacking it. If I don't hit it, I'll probably lose 50% of my money or 25%, but I'm okay with that because I'm only putting up $40,000, which if you keep up with how much I play at PGA and college football is pretty much crumbs. But I also, I don't worry about what other people think about how much I play. That is, I don't need to flex on how much I play to get people to watch my content or to think that I know what I'm talking about. I'm much more process driven, and I don't have that small dick energy where I got to flex about how much I play, because people that are usually flexing about how much they play usually fucking suck. Okay. Rule number 12, no overreactions, okay? Oh my God, this running back is playing this defense and he could never do good. Okay, look, Ramondre Stevenson is a guy that I've already referenced. He is not in the greatest week 1 spot here, right? But Ramondre Stevenson is a top 5 most talented NFL back in the NFL, right? Where the fuck is Ramondre Stevenson's game? Where you be, boy? Where you be? Let's see, running backs. Where you at, Ramondre? He's playing Philadelphia. Just a terrible matchup, right? But the game is at home. His coach is Bill Belichick, and he is the focal point of their offense. So to just say, you could never play him, Philadelphia got that Jalen Carter in the 9th pick, and their defense is already so good. All right, well, that's all narrative bullshit, okay? I'm not going to overreact to that. If I like a guy and everybody is buying a narrative, well, you know me from PGA, I'm going to go the other way. Let's say New England just gets fucking boat raced this first week, 28-3. And week 2 rolls around. New England's garbage. You can't play them. No, that's an overreaction, okay? And just like people will say, oh, Philadelphia's defense only gave up 3 points. They're gods. So the first thing I'm going to do in week 2 is go find who's playing Philadelphia and play those motherfathers, and I'm going to go right back to Ramondre because I don't buy overreactions. Every team in the NFL is full of one thing: fucking professionals. And these guys, the difference in these teams is razor thin. The best team in the NFL and the worst team in the NFL are so close. And any of these teams can beat any of them any given Sunday, and any of these motherfathers can go off. So I don't buy these narratives. This ain't college football. Alabama State is never going to put up 35 points against Alabama. It ain't ever going to happen. But no matter what 2 NFL teams are playing, one team can always boat race the other, even the one that's a 16-point dog. Or the team that is so bad and has no fantasy options and have a guy that can go off and break the Eagles' such good defense. So I don't buy overreactions in the NFL because the talent gap is basically zero. It is basically zero. So, look, the one thing I do consider is quarterbacks that are in bad passing offenses, I rarely ever play them. But as far as running backs, wide receivers, they could never do good. Okay, well, I don't buy that shit. I don't buy overreactions on a week-to-week basis, and I sure as shit don't buy overreactions based on what happened last week, right? Oh, shit, they were terrible last week. They could never be good. I can't wait to play week 2 because I'm going to play every motherfather that had a bad first week, and everybody overreacts and forgets that these guys are fucking professionals that can turn shit around in a heartbeat, okay? These aren't slapdick 18-year-olds who are emotionally broken because Colorado smacked them with their dick, okay? And my 14th rule is always punt at defense. I am such a big believer in this. You know what defense I play? Whatever I have left in salary. That's it. I truly don't give a shit. I never pay up. Generally, my rule is at defense, the best defense, or whatever I have left that's $3,000 or cheaper, right? So I'd probably go kick all these guys off of here except the $3,000 or cheaper. $3,000 or cheaper is fine, right? And I don't really care. Sometimes I won't put one on there, like if they're playing the Chiefs at Arrowhead or something, like the Cardinals are playing at Arrowhead. Okay, maybe I won't put the Cardinals on there because they're likely to get negative points, right? But almost any other team I'm completely open to. And the nice thing about punting at defense is it can really free you up elsewhere. And so many times last year I'd play some random $2,300 defense that would be less than 1% owned, and they get me 12 points. And 12 points is more than acceptable for a punt defense. You're like, yeah, but another defense got 18. You didn't fucking know they were going to get 18. You just guessed. So don't give me that shit. You cannot predict defenses. Anybody that says otherwise is full of shit. Yes, we have projections for them, but you can take those projections and basically shove them up your ass because they're essentially useless, right? So those are some of my process rules. Now, as always, my process is constantly evolving. If you've been with me this whole year, you've seen how much it's already changed at college football, how much it changed throughout the year at Showdown at PGA, at Week Long at PGA, the contest I played at PGA. Oh, and that's another thing. I'm not playing satellites this year. I'm not playing satellites because satellites, I don't want to burn through my money at NFL. It's already hard enough to win at NFL. I don't then want to justify all the money I'm chasing on satellites. So for me, no satellites for me at NFL. I'll save my satellites for PGA, where I feel like I am an edge player who can sustainably win. Another thing is I limit my budget. And this is the final thought. I think I've already said this, but I want to say it again. I limit my budget at NFL because it is the most predictable sport with the best content out there. And to expect to win at NFL year over year is a fool's errand. It is a fool's errand. Maybe you can do it playing cash, but even the cash game is so sharp, I'd rather just get my money in at college football where I can track the fucking morons, okay? I'm going to have fun with NFL. I'm going to enjoy it. I have fun on the Sunday Sweats. I enjoy building my player pool. I enjoy putting my lineups together. I enjoy watching football. That's all fun. But that's what it is. I am playing to win one big one, and if I don't, so be it, because I played at a reasonable budget this year, well within my limits of what I normally play, and that is how much I'm okay playing. Playing $1,850, basically $2,300 a week, that's more than enough to get me excited. I don't got to play $10,000 so I can feel the rush. I feel plenty of rush just playing $2,300 a week. And if I felt, and honestly, if you feel enough rush playing $20 a week, then play $20 a week. Don't get caught up and you have to play more because, like that gives you a bigger edge, or you've got to play more because you hit that one big one. Fuck that. If you're comfortable playing $20 a week and you have fun with that, do it. If you have fun playing $5 a week, do it, right? If you feel like you need to play at least $100 to put in the effort that you need to do, well, then do that. But make sure you're getting it into good contests, okay? This has been a process video about NFL, how I do it. Of course, I will be touching and evolving this process more and more as I do my retrospectives every week, because if you don't constantly learn and constantly evolve your process, you're a fucking chump. Okay? And you will always lose at this shit. Don't expect to win. Of that $40,000, I would say my expected ROI at best is probably break even, right? Because when you're only playing GPPs, you should not expect to win on a 17-week season. I mean, that's just not very many slates to hit that big one, right? So probably less than 50-50, I'm going to win. But what I do think is that I can get the majority of my money back by being a good contest and having a good process. And more importantly, I am giving myself a chance to fucking smash a monster. And that's what really matters to me, right? Is just giving myself a chance to hit a big monster in a reasonably sized contest with a good process. So that is how I'm playing it. I think you should make your own process. I think you should map it out like this and have a game plan going into the season and fucking stick to it. Rather things are going good, rather things are going bad. If things go great, and let's say I win 2 GPPs in the first 3 weeks, it ain't going to change a thing. Let's say I just completely get annihilated the first 5 weeks, get $0 back on all my contests. Ain't going to change a thing because it's about the process, okay? And I am okay losing this much money and really focusing on my process. And if I end of the year I realize my process wasn't good this year, I'll tweak it next year while I'm still tweaking it this year, but I will reevaluate the entire thing. All right, sorry for the long video, but, process is a big thing, and I want to be the process guy, so this video is for all of you guys that want to start forming your own process and understand how a guy who's been doing it for a long time at a relatively successful level does it, okay? I hope you've enjoyed this. I will talk to you later. Adios, amigos.